Hi, this is Christina Shala, and welcome to another episode of Empowering the Educator Within. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at how you can design an educational framework model for a school district. Before getting started, if you haven't already done so, I would highly recommend that you watch the following videos: Educational Frameworks and Individualized Planners, so you can better understand the topics that will be covered in this video. Let's say that a school district's core goal was to ensure that inquiry-based learning was the center of all curriculums across all schools in the entire district. How do you imagine they would go about doing so? Before getting into the steps involved, it's first important to understand what it is that as a school district you're trying to create. And so this model here represents school board's overall vision for all the schools. And you'll see that in the center, it says your vision. That's representative of the school board's vision for inquiry-based learning and the framework that the school board would create. And then you'll see that the schools are surrounding the centerpiece and everyone is attached. And this represents the collaborative approach that would be taken throughout the school district amongst all the schools working towards this vision of placing inquiry-based learning at the center. Then you'll notice as well that some of the schools are varying shades of gray. And this represents the fact that not all the schools offer the same curriculums. And so it may be that some schools have identical frameworks depending on what they offer, and others may have slight variances depending on what they offer at their school. So not all the frameworks will look identical, but the similarities will be enough that everyone will be working towards the same vision. In order to achieve this educational framework model, there are 3 steps involved. The first would be to design an educational framework. From there, you would design your educational framework model. And after that, you would go and design the individualized planners to accompany the framework and the framework model. And so let's take a look what each of these steps involve. So the first step in the process involves creating an educational framework, such as the one that I've shown here. The inquiry-based framework that you see has been taken from my book, Empowering the Educator Within. If you would like more information on it and about design process, you can refer to the book. For the purposes of the video, we're just going to talk about how or why it's important to have an educational framework done up for your district. And so if you take a look at the first diagram, the 2D model, you'll notice that inquiry-based learning is at the center and that the subject areas sort of surround it on the top and the bottom. And providing a visual like this for administrators is key because they can then share it with their staff and illustrate how everyone is going to be working together to achieve the goal. Now, as mentioned before, not every school in your district is going to offer the same curriculums. So therefore, when designing the educational framework, pick a certain number of subjects, just enough to give administrators and their staff an idea of what you're working towards, and then they can adjust accordingly to what they offer at their own individual schools. And if you want to take things one step further, you can also provide them with a visual of a 3D model shown here as well. And what this does is it illustrates to administrators and their schools how all grade levels will connect from top to bottom, and how inquiry-based framework will operate not only in single grade levels, but how teachers will also be connecting vertically. So if you recall the first diagram that I showed of the educational framework model, it represented this idea of schools collaborating amongst each other, all within the aim of achieving the core goal of inquiry-based learning at the center. Now, to give the schools in your district a better idea and understanding of what it is that you're looking to achieve, you can create your own version of an educational framework model, such as the one shown here. In the 2D diagram, it basically is a replica of the educational framework designed by the school board, but just placed and connected in a way that it illustrates how all the schools will be working together using similar educational framework to achieve the goal. And by giving this visual, it sort of gives the staff at the schools this understanding that they can be sharing resources and ideas not only amongst themselves, but amongst other schools in the district. They can also be thinking about running common professional development days as well amongst all the schools in the district. And not only can you provide a 2D model, but if you wanted to take things one step further, you could also provide them with a 3D model. And the 3D model would not only illustrate how the framework works at each individual school at a certain grade level, but how all the grade levels within the district connect. And so from kindergarten until grade 12, not only is each grade level working towards the same goal, but you can also be collaborating vertically, which means that elementary schools could be collaborating with high schools because everyone is using a common educational framework and everyone is headed in the same direction. As you'll know from watching prior videos, an educational framework cannot stand on its own. It needs accompanying planners to support it so that teachers are able to implement the vision. Now, as a school district, this process is a little bit more complicated because you've got so many different schools with, they're offering different curriculums. There are teachers teaching split grade classes, multi-level classes. You've got teachers with varying levels of experience, etc. So as a school district, the easiest way to go about accommodating all these individual needs is by designing a standard set of planners and then providing administrators with either some professional development or a handbook with some examples and guidelines on how they can go about modifying the planners further so that they meet the needs of individual staff members at their school. Now, in this example here, I've shown just a snippet of the inquiry-based planners. And what you would want to do is to design certain areas of the planners that could not be modified by administrators or modified minimally by administrators, because if they go too far in their modifications, then the planners will no longer support the framework itself. So as you can see in these snippets and the arrows, it illustrates how these planners, if you kept these top portions, would help to enforce and help implement the inquiry-based framework. Now, of course, this isn't the only way to go about doing this, but as you're coming up with your own sets of planners, just be mindful that you will need to provide some clear way that teachers will be working together to implement your vision. Now, if you feel like you might need some further examples or guidance on how to do this, you can always refer to my book, Empowering the Educator. What are the benefits of designing an educational framework model for a school district? First off, you're going to end up with a united district because each school at your district is clear on the plan and the approach that needs to be taken to implement your vision. You're also going to end up with empowered teachers because a lot of times when visions are shared, the guidelines that are given as to how to go about implementing them are very vague, which leads to confusion and leads to teachers, taking their own individualized approach in implementing it. So things are not consistent. But by providing the planning tools and the clear set method of how to go about implementing your vision, the teachers will be empowered. They will feel a sense of confidence. And because they're clear on the direction they need to take and how to go about doing it, this then transcends to the students who then become empowered. Because as they move through your district from kindergarten to grade 12, they will recognize that a consistent approach is being taken throughout. They will also be aware of the connections being made not only at their grade level, but at each grade level they move through on their learning journey. This video concentrated on developing an educational framework and educational framework model based on a framework that was more curriculum based and that illustrated how subject areas would connect at a school. Now, could you develop an educational framework model if you're looking to shift mindset across a district? Absolutely. Do your 2D and 3D models need to look like the ones that I shared? Absolutely not. You can feel free to create them in whatever way supports your vision. Do you need to have an idea on such a grand scale? Nope. Perhaps your district is simply looking to introduce a new teaching method and ensuring that this method is used among schools consistently. For more information on how you can bring your vision to the district level and share it amongst schools so that it's implemented consistently, you can visit www.shalabooks.com. There you'll find articles on the education blog. You'll also find a link to purchase my book, Empowering the Educator Within. And if you feel like you might still need some additional support, you can also contact me via the website. I'm always happy to help. Thanks for joining us today. Tune in next time for another episode of Empowering the Educator Within.